I'm not retired yet, my friend. No, they can say whatever they want, but it's not that easy. One fight, don't put in that position. You need to do a lot of things.
Canelo Alvarez thinks you're not a 54 pounder. In other words, you say, nah, he's too small.
That's his take. There's a reason why.
The story goes like this. Crawford's rematch with Errol Spence Jr., one of the most highly anticipated fights in the welterweight division, may have been scheduled for the undercard of Canelo's upcoming bout. This decision was met with both confusion and outrage from fans. Why would one of the best fighters in the world, a man who just demolished Spence in their first meeting, be relegated to a secondary role? The answer lies in the numbers. Canelo, despite his legacy as one of the sport's most accomplished fighters, has been struggling with his recent pay-per-view numbers and ticket sales. His last few fights, especially against Gennady Golovkin and Dmitry Bivol, failed to live up to expectations, both in terms of drawing power and the excitement they generated. And now, to add insult to injury, Crawford's second fight with Spence is seen as the true headliner, but it's being buried beneath Canelo's shadow.
We all know Canelo is great. We all know he's big. We all know he's strong. He got good timing. He got good punching power. He moves his head well. He's a good counter puncher. We all know all that things about Canelo, but we never seen Terence Crawford at 168. So we don't know. We don't know if Terence Crawford can take his punch power. We don't know if Canelo is going to be able to box, toe for toe with Terence.
The story unfolds like this. Terence Crawford's rematch with Errol Spence Jr., arguably one of the most anticipated showdowns in the welterweight division, was reportedly set to take place on the undercard of Canelo Alvarez's next bout. The news sparked confusion and frustration among boxing fans. After all, why would one of the sport's top pound-for-pound fighters, fresh off a dominant performance against Spence in their first meeting, be relegated to a supporting role? The answer, as always, comes down to numbers. Despite Canelo's storied legacy and accomplishments in the ring, his recent pay-per-view performances have fallen short of expectations. His last few fights, including high-profile matchups with Gennady Golovkin and Dmitry Bivol, under-delivered both in hype and revenue. Now, what many see as the real main event, Crawford versus Spence, is being tucked away beneath Canelo's spotlight, a move that feels more like a business decision than one based on boxing merit. And for fans, it's a hard pill to swallow.
I mean, it could happen. Why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, So, what I'm saying? I'm with it. So, I'll be going for Bud, if he fight Canelo, I'll be going for him. I don't know if he's gonna win or lose, but I definitely be going Crawford. I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off.
Crawford, for his part, wasn't about to stay silent in the face of what he saw as a clear slight. His statement calling out Canelo wasn't just a personal jab. It was a bold reminder that the landscape of boxing has shifted. In Crawford's eyes, he is the face of the welterweight division now. After dismantling Spence in a performance that left no doubt about his pound-for-pound greatness, Crawford made it clear the torch has been passed, whether the sport wants to admit it or not.
Bud versus Canelo, based on last fight, is a 50-50. So Canelo fights an undisputed champ, up-and-coming former champion, and an up-and-coming undefeated contender. And somehow those three last opponents are somehow compared to Bud's Madrimov fight, making it a 50-50 fight?
And yet, Crawford finds himself on the undercard, forced to share the spotlight with a fighter whose recent performances have raised more questions than acclaim. His blunt remark about dead ticket sales wasn't just trash talk, it was a hard truth. Canelo, though still a massive name in boxing, no longer commands the same draw he once did. The crowds aren't showing up like they used to, and that's become impossible to ignore. For a fierce competitor like Crawford, being sidelined in favor of fading star power was a slight he couldn't let slide. This isn't just a dispute over billing or pay-per-view numbers. It's a battle over legacy, over who truly sits at the top of the sport.
Don't you all want to see knockouts? I'm from a different time, in this sport when fighters went to war in the ring. We wanted to destroy our opponents. I still took the Pacquiao fight knowing my body was broken and old and I couldn't beat him. But I was a warrior. I wanted to be a legend. It's a different mentality, a champion's mentality. Canelo wants to get paid. He avoids Benavidez and Bivol, who schooled him just like Mayweather. He wants to cruise easily into retirement.
But the drama doesn't stop there. Recently, Turki Alalshik, a major power broker in the Saudi sports world, hinted at even bigger fights looming on the horizon for both Crawford and Canelo. Alalshik, a key figure in the rise of combat sports in the Middle East, teased the possibility of a blockbuster boxing event that could eclipse anything currently on the schedule. His comments add a fresh layer to the unfolding narrative. Could Crawford's bout with Spence merely be a stepping stone toward massive opportunities in Saudi Arabia? And is Canelo now playing the part of the aging champion, leaning on rising stars like Crawford to help keep the spotlight firmly fixed on him?
I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out. From Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously,
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not. Kovalev.
Kovalev was older. He does.
Billy Joe.
Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you named is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect.
Canelo Alvarez, once seen as an unstoppable force, has recently begun to show signs of vulnerability. His loss to Dmitry Bivol exposed some glaring weaknesses, and his choice to remain at super middleweight instead of pursuing a rematch at light heavyweight raised eyebrows. What was once perceived as a dominant reign now seems more like a carefully curated path, with massive paydays taking precedence over the quality of opposition. His inability or reluctance to secure marquee matchups, especially against Terence Crawford or David Benavidez, has only added to the criticism. Meanwhile, Crawford has done nothing but rise. His emphatic knockout victory over Errol Spence further cemented his status as arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. This isn't just about Canelo's fading power. It's about the evolution of boxing and the shifting landscape of the sport. The rise of new stars like Crawford, who refuses to follow the traditional promotion rules, signals a challenge to the old guard. The heavyweight division is buzzing with action once again, but so are the smaller weight classes. Crawford, with his versatile skills and readiness to face the best, is forging a path that could redefine what it means to be the top fighter in the world. His boldness in calling out Canelo for weak ticket sales shows he's not here to play second fiddle. He's gunning for the throne and doesn't need anyone's approval to do it.
You want to fight Canelo? Would you ever entertain a fight with Benavidez?
Benavidez is a big dude. Not to say I won't fight him, but the only reason why I entertain Canelo is because he's not a big dude. He might be thick, you know what I mean? But he's not a big dude. Benavidez is like 6 foot something. Come in 190, 200 probably. You know what I mean? I might as well go to heavyweight if I fight Benavidez.
Canelo Alvarez has long been seen as the undisputed king of boxing, the face of the sport and the fighter everyone turned to. However, by 2023, that narrative began to unravel. Questions about his ability to perform at the highest level are growing, and his increasing reliance on other big names to sell his events only highlights this shift. In contrast, Terence Crawford is currently at the peak of his powers. His dominant victory over Errol Spence was a defining moment in boxing, leaving no doubt about his supremacy. Yet Crawford now finds himself on the undercard of a man he believes is no longer the top draw he once was. This sentiment isn't limited to Crawford alone. David Benavidez also shares the view that Canelo's reputation may be overhyped.
You gotta fight the best in the division. I'm #1 in the division, #1 contender. The second one is David Morrell. He's not fighting me, nor he's not fighting David Morrell. So it makes no sense. How is he gonna call himself the champion and have all these belts if he doesn't fight the #1 or the #2 guys? He's asking $200 million. Why, when they bring my name up with him?
Canelo Alvarez has once again ignited debates in the boxing world. But this time, it's not about a scorecard or a sanctioning body. The question now is whether he can not only survive, but thrive among the giants. Fresh footage has emerged of the Mexican superstar sparring with undefeated heavyweight contender Frank Sanchez, and it's already causing a stir in the sport. For those who've watched Canelo's rise from 147 to 175 holds, this shouldn't come as a shock. The man who built his legacy in the welterweight division has never been one to respect limits.
Canelo, hell of a fighter, but my personal opinion, he's ducking Benavidez. You know, that's just my personal opinion, and I'm allowed to speak my mind. That's just what it is. He's going up. He's going up to cruiser, and I'm not knocking him, but he's going up to cruiserweight. And that same guy with that, he used to be at the Mayweather boxing gym. The guys really getting the best of him in the Mayweather boxing gym.
Canelo Alvarez stopped Sergey Kovalev at light heavyweight to claim a world title. And at one point, he even had plans to challenge cruiserweight Ilunga Makabu, an idea the WBC surprisingly approved in 2021. It seemed outlandish then, and it still does, but Canelo has never let that stop him. Now with footage of him moving around the ring against a 6'4", 220 pounds heavyweight like Frank Sanchez, those once absurd ideas are resurfacing, sparking new discussions about what Canelo is truly capable of.
Anytime Canelo faced an elite boxer, he arguably lost.
Hey,
Danny Jacobs?
arguably doesn't matter.
Danny Jacobs is not elite.
What?
Stop.
What?
Stop.
This dude is funny.
Stop.
Tone.
He needs to Google the scorecards on the Triple G fight.
The footage isn't exactly violent. Sanchez wasn't trying to flatten him, but even in light sparring, Canelo's confidence and movement speak volumes. Sure, he's shorter and significantly lighter, but he's not intimidated. This isn't just some gym myth either. His trainer, Errol Rematch, made it clear to ESPN, "I know what he's done with the heavyweights he spars with, and that's why we asked for the fight." The fight Reynoso is referring to may not have been one they truly expected to materialize. The cruiserweight bout with Makabu was never finalized, and with Makabu losing his title to Badu Jack, the same Jack who notoriously punched 2 referees in separate bouts, that whole path seems closed off. Still, the idea of Canelo pursuing a heavyweight title shot in the future, even if just as a historical novelty, doesn't seem as far-fetched anymore.
Generational fight, you know, that will be talked about for years.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm gone, they'll talk about, man, you remember Crawford coming up to 168 and fighting Canelo, you know, 2 top 5 pound for pound fighters in the world in their prime, fighting each other. Like, man, that's...
Yeah, but I also feel, Terence, that Canelo's just in a different place, man. I think he's...
Online, the reaction has been predictably chaotic. Some fans are genuinely excited by the idea of Canelo becoming the first boxer in history to win titles from welterweight all the way to heavyweight, while others dismiss it as a delusional fantasy meant to salvage his image after the bitter loss to Dmitry Bivol. Amid the storm, one comment stood out. "This is what a typical Canelo fight looks like. Canelo walking forward like a zombie while the other guy doesn't even try." Another user called the footage disrespectful to the sport, pointing out that Frank clearly wasn't trying to hurt him. But these criticisms miss a crucial point. No one spars with a 220 pounds powerhouse unless they believe they belong in that ring. And that's why many pros aren't fond of this fight.
I don't like the fight because Terence Crawford is a good fighter, but in the sport of boxing, it has divisions. You know what I mean? You know?
Right, weight classes.
You know what?
Right?
Yeah, weight classes.
For a reason.
Weight classes for, yeah. And Terence Crawford is a good fighter in super lightweight, welterweight, super welterweight, but I think more. I remember when Terence Crawford fought with Madrid.
This matters now more than ever because the buzz around Canelo isn't just about weight. It's about who truly deserves to share the ring with him next. William Skull is reportedly up next on May 3rd, a stay-busy fight that might seem meaningless to most, but it sets the stage for something bigger. And here's where things get complicated. That bigger fight might not be David Benavidez or David Morrell, as purists hoped. Instead, it could be Terence "Bud" Crawford, which is already stirring up controversy.